This video is going to walk you through the process of reserving a room, planning events, and tabling. We'll start with the basics. To hold any sort of event, meeting, or gathering, you need to reserve this space. There is one exception where you don't need to reserve, and that's if you're going to set up a table at the bell tower and only give out information. So if you're tabling on a Wednesday and you're just giving out flyers about your next meeting, you don't need to reserve a space. We call this an information table. As soon as you're giving out or selling food, taking in money, either by selling something or from donations, or if you're doing interactive activities, this is no longer considered an information table, and the space then has to be reserved. Back when we talked about Highlander Link, we talked about positions and how you can give a position to someone. This is where the title Reserver comes into play. You can assign one Reserver 1 and one Reserver 2. These two individuals will be able to log into the scheduling site and reserve a space. It can take up to 72 hours to refresh the room reservation website, so give it some time after you change the reservers for it to update. When you're ready to reserve, head over to reserve.ucr.edu and log in. If it doesn't allow you to log in, double check your reservers or make sure you've waited long enough for it to refresh. If it's been longer than 72 hours, you'll need to contact the scheduling office either by stopping by Hub 353 or giving them a call at 951-827-3215.
Once you log in, it's pretty simple. You'll say that you want to reserve a room, enter a time and date, how many people you expect, and you can filter where on campus you like the event to be. Or you can leave it open so it'll show you all your options. Some notes: you must reserve at least 7 days in advance. And generally, academic classroom spaces are closed during week 1 and 2 of each quarter, so that they can adjust classes if they need to. So don't be shocked if those weeks are especially hectic. Once you manage to find a room or space that looks good, you just hit the plus symbol and you'll have that day and time set aside. You can then change the day and time you're searching for, and you can add more reservations. This way, you can reserve rooms for the entire quarter all at once. Super easy. Luckily, most rooms are free of cost if you select the option that says Set Up As Is, which means your group would take the room exactly as it is. If you pick to have your room set up for you, it may charge you for that setup. Also, any sort of media or technology that you want to use would cost you, so think of those things when you're budgeting for the year. There are a few spaces that cost to use, such as the barn, the gym at the rec center, and the university theater near Olmsted. Most hub and academic rooms are free for you to use. Also available on this website is all of the outdoor locations. So if you wanted events at the bell tower, this is where you reserve it.
Let's talk about costs. If you decide to order media or technology or request that a room be set up a specific way, that might cost. And in order for the hub to charge you, you must have an active account with ASUCR that they can pull money from, or you must have an employer identification number and an off-campus bank account. We have an entire video dedicated to opening an off-campus bank account and how to get that number, and the link is in the description. Remember that one of these two methods will be required to accrue charges when reserving space on campus.
Now that brings us to some special circumstances that you might need to know about when you're planning your event. When you reserve the space, you'll fill out a detailed description of what you're up to. When you're filling out your reservation, provide as much information as possible. If they have questions, Highlander Event Scheduling will email you with those questions. If you don't respond, they might drop you from the room and give it to someone else. So make sure that you're answering their questions. So in this description, you'll have the option to check buttons like yes, I'll have food, or yes, I need to drive into campus. We're going to walk you through some of these unique circumstances. Let's talk about giving away food or selling food. If you're providing food for people in your org only, so maybe this is a general meeting, you don't need to do anything special. But as soon as you're giving out food or selling food to the public, or people not involved with your organization, you then need to go through a few additional steps. This includes prepackaged candy and water bottles. If it's happening in a room that you've reserved, you need to make sure to indicate that in your reservation. If you want to sell or give out food at the bell tower, you must reserve a blue tent and give out the food that way. We have an entire video dedicated to using the blue tents for fundraisers, Head down to the description to get there.
After you have a reservation for your room, you will need to go through a quick process with Environmental Health and Safety, or EH&S for short. There's two things to do here. The first is that a certain number of people in your organization need to be trained on food preparation. To serve cold or prepackaged food, you need to have 2 members trained. To serve hot food, you need at least 3 members trained. These are minimum numbers. It's always better to have more of your members trained. Now, how do you do the training? First, you'll go to ehns.ucr.edu and look for the button that says Training on the left side. Under Online Training, you'll see Food Training. The video is only 26 minutes and the training is good for multiple years. Once someone completes the training, they're now eligible to apply for a food permit. While the training is good for years, the permit is only good for 1 day. So you would apply for a permit every time you have an event with food going to people not involved in your organization. These permits are free. On this form, you'll specify what you're preparing, where you're buying it, and other info. Once it's approved, EH&S will email you a permit to print out. So that's it. Easy, right?
Now, let's talk about situations for which you may need to get insurance for your event. If your group is doing something that could be considered risky, the university might ask you for additional information to get insurance to cover your event. Luckily, this is a quick process. All registered student groups have access to insurance. It's just a quick online form that you fill out with all of your event details. If your event is occurring on campus, the insurance is paid for by the University of California Office of the President. If your event is happening off campus, you might be asked to pay for insurance coverage. So consider how often your events happen off campus and make sure to include that in your budgeting for the year. On the screen, you'll see information for our risk management department, and they can help you troubleshoot ways to lower the risk at your events, and they can help you navigate registering for insurance.
Occasionally, your student org may want to bring a guest speaker to one of your meetings or events. This could be someone who speaks at your meetings regularly, or it could be a one-time thing. Anyone that's not associated with the university, so not a staff, student, or faculty, has to sign a form similar to the Policy Compliance Form's Hold Harmless Agreement section. By signing this form, your speaker is agreeing that whatever they're talking about, the university isn't condoning or approving. It's possible to put multiple dates on one form, so if your advisor is speaking on a weekly basis, for example, just tell scheduling and they'll batch the dates together. If the speaker is a staff, student, or faculty here, they don't need to sign the agreement. The last bit about reservations and event planning is about using space in housing facilities. You may want to do an event in one of these residence halls or in a space controlled by housing. You can't reserve these spaces through Highlander event scheduling. You also can't just show up and use the space. There's 2 ways that you can use the space. The first is to contact the department called Conference Services to reserve and rent the space. This will cost money, however, so if you go this route, there will be fees. The other way to use the space is to contact a professional staff member within ResLife and do the event in collaboration with that staff member. This doesn't mean you can just ask your friend who's an RA and they can give you permission. This means that you're working with ResLife to collaborate, market, and implement the event together. So that covers when to reserve a room, how to reserve a room, and then some of those more complicated things that you might need to think about when planning your event. Thanks for watching.